Okay, so we are recording our class session of English 103. We are taking a look at week 4 today. Just a quick reminder, everything from week 3 was due Sunday at midnight. We've kind of already talked about that in class. As a general rule, most of you had no issues with the outline uploading. I will be grading those today, trying to get feedback for you right away. Writing consultations, remember, if you didn't get it done, you can still do it. Just submit it after you get it done for on Moodle, and then you can still get late credit, not a problem. Remember, consultations are done online. I do want to show you, I did show this in class, but I want to show it one more time in case there's an issue. If you want to make an appointment online, you can find the resource for this up in our SMC resources. You click on Carol A. Tate, Teaching and Learning, then you click on the appointment link, and then you do new appointment. Now, although mine is not showing you, on yours, you will see a listing of services. Simply click on Writing Consultation and then choose English 103. And then what will pop up is a listing of days and times and people of consultations that are available that you can choose. Once you click on the green box within that appointment, it will send you an email invitation to a Zoom hot link. And then all you do is click on that link at the day and the time. So this week, your primary objective is drafting, and you need to draft the entire essay. This is the This I Believe essay. So there are 2 assignments listed, but this second one is called the conference sheet, and this one's not going to be due until next Sunday, even though it's located here. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to upload your draft. I'm going to review it or talk it over with you and do a conference, and then I'm going to fill out the sheet that's here and send it to you for you to make revisions and changes. So let's just walk through this, I believe, conference sheet. It's right here. I will be returning it to you with your feedback. Now this week, the focus is conferencing and drafting. So what I want you doing is popping in during office hours if you have a question while you're working. If you need feedback, if you want me to look at something, I want you to pop in during my office hour. We will conference about your paper. Even if you do not conference with me this week, you need to upload your draft by midnight on Sunday. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this particular sheet and give you feedback. So I'll make comments and recommend specific areas for you to improve on before you submit for the final grading next week. After you get this sheet from me, then what you have to do are these 3 questions. You have to type in these answers for these 3 questions. Notice it says conferencing with your instructor on each one. So the goal is for you to conference with me. So you do want to pop in during office hours to conference with me on your paper. However, even if you do not conference with me in person, I will absolutely be looking over your draft and providing feedback based on this sheet. And you will get this sheet back in your feedback when you see your grade for the submission. So the other option you also have is you may do an additional conference with a writing consultant. So your conference does not necessarily have to be with me. You may go do a conference with another consultant. However, they are not required to fill the sheet out. This is only me. I'm giving you this sheet based on what I am seeing in your draft to help you improve for final submission of grading. So you are welcome to do another consultation. However, do not give this to them. This is only for me. I am the one that's going to be giving you feedback on those areas. And then you're going to fill in question 1, 2, and 3 based on the feedback I give you and your revisions that you do or conferencing with me for your essay. So it's a little deceptive this week. I just wanted to point that out in the fact that although there are 2 items in there, only one is due by midnight Sunday, this one. The second one is due next Sunday. So you got to get feedback from me before you can upload it and answer the questions, because the questions are based on your conferencing with me. So I do want you to do the sheet, even if you do not meet with me in person on Zoom. I am going to give it to you based on what you submit here. That being said, if you meet with me during office hours this week and we do a live conference then or at another time on your essay, I will be able to provide you with the sheet much, much earlier. I will do it right on the spot, and then you will have that sheet and you can do those 3 questions and get that assignment done and off your plate if you desire. So for your draft submission, I want to emphasize that I want a full working draft. That means 3 full pages plus your works cited page. I also want to see you integrate your source. Remember, for this essay, you're required to use one source only. You're allowed to use a quote or a statistic that you feel is relevant to your essay and what you're writing. Most students choose to use a quote from an NPR, this I believe essay sample that they read. It does not need to be the one you responded to, but hopefully you read more than one, and as you were going in there, maybe you found something, a quote from one of the essays that really resonated with you or with what you are writing about in your essay. You are welcome to take that. Most students, that's how they integrate their source. We are practicing integrating the source, so we're going to talk heavily about the ACTs today. And I do want to emphasize you're not required to use an NPR sample. You may take a quote from anywhere, but you do have to acknowledge it and have authentic source for doing that. So it has to be accurate. And again, it does not have to be a quote per se. It can be a statistic if you choose. Now, I want to spend time a little bit just talking about the ACTs. The ACTs are what I refer to as helping you integrate your sourcing. So I have a video that kind of explains it. This is my colleague Cody Miller talking about this in the video. No problem, he does a great job. Don't be thrown off that it's not me. In many ways, he probably explains it nicer, smoother than I can. He has kind of that radio voice going for him. But I do have a document as well if you are one who just wants to read it, and so I'm going to talk about that a minute. The art of the ACTs is a way of helping the reader understand a source the first time you use it in an essay. So you really only employ the ACTs the first time you use a source in an essay. For this essay, it'll be one and only time. So you will use it because I only allow you one, and you will not use it repeatedly. So it'll be one and done, so to speak. However, in our other essays moving forward that you're going to have in the future, you may be using sourcing more than one time from the same source. In other words, you might use a quote or multiple quotes from the same author at various locations of the source that you are using. And you only will use the ACT the first time you refer to it or you introduce it in the essay. So you don't have to do this for every single time. It's only the first time you introduce something. So ACTS is an acronym, which means each of those letters, those capital letters, represent a word. So A represents author's full name. So when you are introducing it, make sure the first time you use the author's full name. C means credentials. In other words, what kind of credentials or what makes that author reputable? In other words, kind of, if you think of credibility, what's the credibility of this and their sourcing that you're using? T means title. What's the title of the article or title of the source that you're using, you're quoting or paraphrasing or summarizing? And then S is a short summary of the source. So you're kind of giving the reader a kind of a so what of, from this article that helps them understand why you're using the quote. So my friend Cody Miller, Professor Miller, he likes to use the quote sandwich. He uses that. And what that means is you have something in between. You have a before and after the quote that you're using within your essay. So think of the top bun as your setup or introduction. This would be where you cite the author's name, credentials if you know them, title of the article, and a short summary to kind of get the reader, oh, okay, kind of why you're using this quote. And then the meat is the actual quote or paraphrase that you are using. So in this particular one, we're using a quote or a statistic. So the meat, for vegans out there, tofu or whatever the good stuff is, that is what you're actually using from the source. And then the bottom, and this is the bottom bun or what we call the follow through, is kind of your interpretation or your explanation of why this is working, why you're using this, referencing maybe something from the context of how that source was written. So if you come down here, there's some examples to kind of help you when you are doing this with your essay. So up here, if you take a look, they wrote all of the ACTs within it. So keep in mind, what are the ACTs? Well, the author was Holly DeVore. Credentials, okay, who is she? She's a sociology professor. In other words, it's not just Joe Smith off the street. What was the title of the article? Becoming Members of Society, Learning the Social Meaning of Gender. And then they gave a summary, which is after the title, they're telling you what the importance is or why, the so what of it, okay? So Holly DeVore, a sociology professor, writes in her essay titled Becoming Members of Society, Learning of Social Meanings of Gender, about how gender is a socially constructed concept, one different from sex, but one that's highly important in understanding why people act the way they do. Okay. So right there, we have author's name, credentials, the title, and a little bit of an introduction for why this is going to be relevant. And then in her essay, she breaks down the gender binary by characteristics, shows how American culture has intertwined sex and gender in almost systematic hierarchical way from the moment we take our first breath. Now, there's not a quote in here yet, but what they have done is they have certainly led everything up there. Now, they paraphrased what it was. In yours, you need a quote. So if you were going to do this for yours, you might say something, so Holly DeVore, social writes in her essay, blah, blah, blah. And so you're introducing, her quote being, and then whatever your quote is, helps represent how gender breaks down the blah, 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 blah. So you have your explanation after the quote that you're going to use. So the tips for using the ACTs: only list the author's full name the first time you mention it. From there, if you ever have to use it again, you'll just do last name. You will probably not have to in this essay. You're only going to refer to it once. Credentials can be brief and only contain relevant information. In this particular one, if you're quoting from an NPR essay, something sufficient of, Eve Birch, an activist with whatever group. In her essay, she titled blah, 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 Art of Being a Good Neighbor. So you don't need degrees, all those kinds of things. You just basically are telling the reader who they are and what their credential was. Titles only need to be mentioned the first time. So for you, if they do have a title, you do need to mention it. Summaries only contain keywords and ideas to help the reader understand the source. In your summary, it can be very brief because what you're going to be doing are key items from it that relate to your essay that you're writing. So this will be a very nice dovetail in which you're kind of explaining to the reader why you chose this particular quote and how from that writing in that article, it links to yours. Now, keep in mind, you do not need, it's not required that you do it from an NPR. Maybe you have a different sourcing that's much more relevant. Absolutely, use that other sourcing, no problem. The second part that I want to, I guess before I move on, I just want to make sure, are there questions on the ACTs so far? So make sure you have this incorporated within your draft so that I can give you feedback on it and maybe suggestions of either making it better, or I might say, wow, fantastic job of integrating your quote or source. The other part that I want you to make sure you have set up completely and you are demonstrating knowledge of is the MLA MLA 8 document design. So the basics I need to be able to see, which means, again, this is the Purdue OWL site. You can read through them. But the big thing is you need a works cited page. It's a very similar order every single time, and it tells you the order. You always start with the author, then you give the title. If you found it in a container, you give the title of the container. If there are other contributors, you acknowledge them. If there's a version, these are things like British version, American version, you know, if there are different versions of this. If there was a number, like journals quite often have multiple numbers, publisher, publication date, and location. I do want to emphasize not all of these may be applicable, and you only use the ones that are applicable for the source that you are using. So, for example, if this is a particular one where it's a book and it's author's last name, title of the book, publisher, and year, that's it, right? So if you're taking a quote from a book, the citing's probably the easiest of all, okay? I do want to point out, in case you have a container. So for example, if you are taking it from a container, which ours might be, the website, NPR, author's last name, title of article, then the name of the website, right? The date, and then you also have to include the hot link and the date you accessed it, okay? They give all kinds of examples for citing. One item I do also want to, this is for your works cited page, by the way. One thing I do want to show you is night sight. So go ahead and type in night sight, K-N-I-G-H-T. It would help if I spelled it right. K-N-I-G-H-T, night sight. It's the night sight citation service through Calvin University. It used to be Calvin College, now they're university. And this is a generator. It's a works cited generator for you. And the beauty of this, it's interactive, and you can input the information and it will generate the works cited page accurately for you. So the beautiful thing is, if you go over here, there's MLA APA Chicago. Which one are we using? Anybody? MLA. So make sure MLA is highlighted. So then after that, you determine, okay, what type of resource am I using? Are you getting your book from are you getting your quote from a book, an encyclopedia? Is it an anthology? Is it a periodical? Or many of us online, are you taking it from an entire website or a web page from a website? So keep in mind, ours is most likely a web page from an entire website, because we are, if you are using the NPR, now obviously you are welcome to use other things. So it asks you how many authors. If there's only one author, that's where it defaults. But if there was more than one author, then look, it opens up spots for you to type in the names. We're going to stick with one author, whatever the first name. I'm just going to make something up. First name was Eve. And then the last name was Birch. She did not have a middle initial. This is the beauty of this. If that information is not provided, then you leave it blank. Does the website have a title? Yes, it does. I forget the actual name of it, but we're going to say NPR, this I believe. Again, help if I spelled it right. Number of editors, it didn't tell me any editors. I don't have any editors. What was the document title? This is the title of my article. So I don't remember. Art of Being a Good Neighbor. Publisher, who is the sponsor? In other words, who's responsible for the website? In this case, it is NPR. They are the ones responsible for that website. By the way, National Public Radio, that's what that stands for. And then, of course, what was the date of publication? I don't remember exactly. I'm just going to make something up here. And we'll say 1987. And then retrieval information. Is the URL too long to cite? No, it is not. How do you put the URL? Include the URL? Yes. All you got to do is go to the website and then do a copy, what? Copy paste. So let me see if I can go to our website really quick and I'll show you. All right, let's see. I don't know if this is the right one or not. Here we go. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to pick this one. I want to read this one. This is the one I want. I'm going to come up here and then I'm going to do a copy and then I'm going to paste it. I got to go back to my night site now. Full URL. There we go. Pop that baby in. Was the resource used? Was the resource found using a database? No, it was not. When did I access it? Do I want to include it? Yes, I want you to include when did you access it. Since I just accessed it right now, that's what I'm going to use. Now, obviously, if you originally accessed it at a different date, include that. So then you just submit. And then take a look at this. It formatted everything for me. How sweet is that? Last name, comma, first name, period. The title is in quotes. The name of the website is in italics, right? And the publisher is formatted correctly. They do, and they even do the hanging indent. That's part of the works cited, is you need a hanging indent. So hanging indent, by the way, is the first line is left aligned, but anything relating to it underneath has to be indented. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to open a Word doc. Let me see if I can find a Word doc. Sorry, I got to find my, there we go. Icons. I was looking for my icons. I'm going to do it. And then what I want to do is I want to do works cited, because you need works cited. That has to be the title of your page. We're going to center the title. Okay. And then after that, I want to left align. Remember, we are double spacing, by the way. So let me go up here and make sure I'm on double spacing. Okay. Works cited has to be double spaced. So I'm going to return. And then now I want to left align. And then I just paste what I have. So what I'm going to do, now you notice the format didn't come out quite right. So I'm gonna have to do some adjusting. So let's see if it will do it for me automatically. Nope, it's not. None of my options are gonna work there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna highlight. And the first thing is I gotta make sure I have the right font and the right size. There we go. And then what you're gonna do here is you go to the end of the first line, wherever it ends, and then you hit tab. And it will automatically do a hanging indent for you underneath your item. And there you go. I also forgot to do the correct format up here, so let's change that to Times New Roman. Fantastic. Now, one last thing. What is missing on my Works Cited page? There's one last thing missing on this. Anybody remember? Make sure you got your header. Do the insert header. So don't do that first because it's going to be a running header. This is going to be your Works Cited page, but remember it's at the end of the document. So you're going to do this last. And then if you've done your insert header on the other, you will be in good shape. And then of course, double check for spelling errors and all that kind of stuff because I can see one already. All right, so I just kind of wanted to walk you through that. You do need your in-text citation. You need a Works Cited page on your drafting. The better you do your drafting, the better the feedback I can give you. Remember, I'm going to give you feedback on that conference sheet no matter what. Even if you choose not to conference with me in person, you will get that sheet back in feedback with the grade on your draft. Questions or concerns on what we're working on this week? That's really all I have for you, unless you have something else that I need to address for the recording. Remember, draft submission due by midnight. The conference sheet is not due until next week. That's because I got to look at your draft, and if some of you don't upload till midnight, it's going to take me a day to go through and give you some good feedback. I appreciate it. Earlier is better. So the sooner you can upload your draft to me for feedback, the quicker you will get feedback from me. And then of course, you can also conference with me in person on it. Any other questions or concerns? Issues? All right. I am going to end recording.